Yeah, my name is Christos Chrysilio, and I'm the Director of Architectural Engineering Services for the LA Unified School District. I oversee 3 different departments: Architecture and Engineering Services. I also manage the Sustainability Initiatives Unit and the Energy Management Group.
And talk to us about how LA Unified School District tracks its energy use.
Certainly, and just to put things in perspective, as you
Sure.
know, we're the second largest school district in the nation, and we're serving over 660,000 students with a portfolio of 1,200 schools and associate centers, which includes approximately about 13,500 buildings with approximately 72 million square foot of building area. So, and that's distributed over 6,500 acres of land. So the average building, actually the average age of our portfolio is about 50 years old, with several buildings dated back to 19th century. So that gives perspective of the size of the district, and our utility bills range close to 130 million per year.
Wow. Okay.
So in terms of your question, in terms of how we track our energy use, we currently track our energy use by utilizing one of our management software that we have that's called UMS. It's actually a utility management server. And this utility manager has some great capabilities that we really like to be able to focus on small, but also large accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talked about the size of our district, but in reality, when we look at the accounts, we have over 7,500 accounts throughout our district through different utility agencies. And the data comes to us from billing flat files, just pretty much on the mail. Mm-hmm. And it's sent by the major utility agencies that we have. We have a few main ones. And then there's a lot of other smaller ones that they come, and we have to enter them in pretty much by hand. And then we have to transfer them into Excel or Access spreadsheet. So once we take that information, we upload them using our energy accounting software. And this UMS we started using about 10 years ago as more of an accounting to ensure that we do the primary function, which was to ensure we pay our bills on time. And then we started doing some additional usage by looking at consumption reporting, bill auditing. We started doing trending analysis. We looked at how to develop exception reports, and we started doing budget forecasting. Mm-hmm. Budget forecasting is quite important to us because we have to always plan ahead and think in terms of setting our budget for the next year. And we look at actual trending, and besides trending, we look at our current programs that we have and any upcoming programs that come in hands. But what's important the last, I will say, 4 years, while we started working with the Department of Energy, the Better Buildings Challenge, that enabled us to become more familiar with other tools, other software, Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So once we started looking at the capabilities of that, and actually, interesting enough, we started sharing data so we can be able to report on the goals that we've set up at the time with the Buildings Challenge. We started transferring data from UMS into Portfolio Manager. And it was interesting to see the analytics that came out of that. So we're very impressed.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me about some of the things that are that you're looking forward to with the Energy Star Portfolio Manager as you integrate that tool with your existing UMS software. What are some of the things that have caused you to want to integrate that data?
Absolutely, and actually, for me, I have to say that as an architect by trade, I was very interested in the facility function and support that Portfolio Manager provides. To me, it's very important how you can be able to collect important data to input in Portfolio Manager. And what's important, that building data, understanding the building itself, being able to collect information at the building level and being able to understand the type of systems that you need to input. That kind of forces you to be able to become familiar with a lot of information just for the way that you approach energy, but also even thinking ahead. And also the support that it provides. I think that was quite important to me. But also, for us, we want to become more aggressive in terms of being able to achieve our goals, our energy and water goals. And certainly the Energy Star Portfolio Manager provides a framework to be able to measure and do the analysis that you need. So it is an industry standard, and I think it's very important to us that we have a tool that we can share nationwide to be able to understand how a building is performing. It's very important for benchmarking. I think the benchmarking capabilities are remarkable, and we use them. And it has amazing metrics. You know, you can access so many metrics that you're able to look at the building from all different angles and how you can improve its performance. So if I was to share some of the things that even our current software doesn't do or does it lightly, I would say the Energy Star score is primarily important. Being able to have an Energy Star score and know how your building is performing, you need to understand your building before you start helping your building. And if you don't understand it, just by looking at numbers and not getting into understanding the systems, the kind of usage of your building, the occupancy of your building, it's hard for you to manage the building to the level that needs to be managed. So there's a lot of metrics that I'm very impressed about. I mean, I've touched on several, but to be able to have visualization data, to look at your greenhouse gas emissions, to look at the Energy Star scores, I think it's quite important to me.
I remember when I had you on Go Green Radio after you had an award from the Better Buildings Challenge, and you mentioned something that was really interesting, and that was that you were looking at how a variety of buildings in LA Unified performed, and you expected that some of your newer campuses might perform better just because they were newer, but you found that when you did some of the benchmarking, that was not necessarily the case. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and just remind us of what you learned by using this kind of data?
Absolutely, and that's a good point, Joe. And I have to say, even we found out that on some of the new buildings, because of the sophistication of the software that we installed, sometimes not everybody, and it's something that we've improved on, is having the training to be able to manage and operate. So we saw systems where, under the new construction program that we have, we started in the early 2000, and some of the new buildings that we completed, that we installed EMS systems, lighting control systems. Some of those systems through time, they were overwritten. Some of the, perhaps, at the building level, the plant managers weren't able to be able to maintain, or in some cases when they were asked to develop a certain type of a comfort within the space, what they've done, they decided to overwrite. And in some cases, some of those systems will be running, perhaps 24/7, just because of that challenge. So what we had to do is to go back and look at these buildings. And when we saw those spikes and those variances through our analysis, we're able to go back and correct it. So we did we have few showcase projects that indicate that was the actual issue. It was more like understanding of using some of these systems that we have on our schools.
And I think you guys are such a great role model. And as you mentioned early in the interview, you're a very large school district, over 1,200 schools. And so when you save money on energy, you have the potential to save a lot of money. But, help us, even for smaller school districts, help us get a grasp on how much money it's possible to save if your school district is committed to being energy efficient.
No, absolutely. Each school district has a budget that they have to work with. If you look at the condition of your facilities, they have certain conditions. I can take a best case scenario and a worst case scenario. Let's just say worst case scenario, because I think the numbers are a lot attractive to begin with. Mm-hmm. If you take a facility itself, or a school site, which has 7, 8 buildings, and one of your buildings, you have a computer lab, or you have certain classrooms that they're running all the time, and you can be able to see that they're not managed properly and you're wasting a lot of energy. You can see savings, and you can look at it by building and by site. But on a building that is running 24/7 and not managed well, you can save 20-25% worth of your electricity, right? I would say that all that is related to the condition of your facilities Doesn't matter if you're a small district or certainly have a smaller budget, but also that smaller budget, that cost avoidance, it can go somewhere else. For larger district, again, the condition of the buildings and sites and how they're managed and maintained, it could be a larger number. But they both relate, I would say in that respect. At the end of the day, it's all money that we can certainly put somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that your district's focus on energy efficiency has benefited your students?
Well, I think that's one of my favorite, and I have to say that we're a school district, and everything that we do is for our students, right? And energy efficiency have benefited our students in many different ways. We can talk about financially, we can talk about healthier, sustainable learning environments, and developing the career pathways. All the savings, the cost avoidance, as we call it, they're gathered from projects. They can go back to the district's general fund, and that can certainly help offset and provide more tools for our students, anywhere, books, school supplies, whatever they need to help them within the classroom. In terms of healthier, sustainable learning environments, I think it's quite important to understand that how important lighting is, and being able to improve lighting, to be able to improve ventilation. All that directly impact productivity, attention, and provides a better learning environment for our students, which I think that's one of our ultimate goals as managing these facilities. Some of these programs that we do provide are programs that we develop in-house or in partnerships. I've talked in the past about the Heroes for Zero contest that we try to achieve zero net energy, engaging students in activities and giving them the tools to be able to show us how they can get buildings ZNE ready. We had a program under our Prop 39 efficiency program. We call it SEED, Student Energy Auditing Training Program. Mm-hmm. We engage students to be able to take classes to do investment grade audits and being able to actually work in the field and learn how to do those audits. Quite amazing, and I was impressed to see what those students learn and the tools that they had to follow these careers. And then most recently, we have another program that we've collaborated with the Alliance to Save Energy. We're in the third year right now. We piloted this program with the idea of engage our students in energy and water conservation. Mm-hmm. We empower them by giving them the tools, and we took those tools in their handheld devices. Take the information, put it on a web so they can use their phones, mm-hmm. their computers, to be able to learn about energy and water conservation, including renewables, to be able to do measurements and verifications within the classroom. So I think all those programs, and that's why I was more passionate about sharing that with our students, because all these efforts that we're putting together, they all share one great thing in common, and I know probably what I'm trying to get to, but they're all helping us to lower our carbon footprint. At the end of the day, it does promote a healthier environment for all of us. And this is why we're doing everything that we're doing. We need to help our planet. We need to help the environments that we have. So I think engaging our students in the process is the best way, because we know we can't do all these things alone. So it's important that they're in that process.
That's great advice. Great advice. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about your work, about the district, anything else that you'd like for us to know?
Well, I'm very passionate about what we do. I think architecture and engineering is very important. A lot of the things that I got inspired about, perhaps as an architect, I looked at things a little differently. I didn't look at just numbers. I try to understand the building. Always trained in architecture school to look at the building as a living organism. Mm-hmm. And I think understanding now and looking at these data and systems, it is, and we have to be able to understand how they're used and if they're used correctly. So it's important that we do learn and understand our buildings. It's important that we take our buildings to the next level, improve our facilities, and certainly engage as many people as we can in the process. And as I was mentioning earlier, I'm very thankful for our board that we have. Very passionate about the work that we do, and everything else within that leadership or management. And Jill, I want to thank you more than anything else, because when we have these discussions, you make me realize as well how important it is on top of everything else that I know. And it helps inspires me as well to perhaps listen to myself when I talk, because it's important, because sometimes we get down to the details and we have to step back and look at the bigger picture and understand that we're not on this battle alone. There's a lot of other school districts. There's a lot of other people that are interested, and everything comes together. So with that, I really want to thank you for the opportunity to be on your show today.
Well, thank you so much.